the cavern of echoing flames. With the power of the celestial tides now flowing through them, Tobian and Nivara continued their journey, but the call of their next adventure was already upon them. This time, the magic they followed led them to a land where fire danced in the depths of the earth, and the air was thick with the scent of ash and molten rock. They stood before the entrance of a massive cavern, its walls glowing with the faint orange light of flames deep within. This was the cavern of echoing flames, a place where fire had a voice, and its song had guided them here. Nivara could feel the heat radiating from the ground beneath them, and she knew her transformation was at hand. "The fire here is ancient and powerful," she said softly. "I must become one with its voice." Nivara closed her eyes, and a wave of warmth swept over her as her form began to change. Her hair turned a deep, fiery red, streaked with glowing embers and gold. Her eyes became molten amber, burning with intensity, and her skin took on a warm, sun-kissed glow. Her robe transformed into a flowing garment of molten lava and dark stone, crackling with heat and energy, as if she had become a living embodiment of fire. Nivara had become the spirit of echoing flames, embodying the ancient, ever-burning power of fire. "The flames speak here," Nivara said, her voice soft but filled with the intensity of the fire within. "We must listen to their song and follow where they lead." Together, they entered the cavern, the air growing warmer with each step. The walls were lined with glowing veins of magma, and the sound of crackling flames echoed all around them, as though the very air hummed with the energy of fire. As they ventured deeper, the cavern opened into a vast chamber, where a massive pit of fire roared at its center. At the edge of the pit, a series of ancient stone pillars stood, each etched with intricate runes. Flames flickered between the pillars, and at the center, suspended above the fiery pit, was a glowing crystal, pulsing with fiery light. This was the heart of echoing flames, the source of the cavern's power. But as they approached, the flames flared up, and from within the fire emerged 3 flame wraiths, their forms made of smoke and flickering embers. The wraiths circled the crystal protectively, their eyes glowing with the heat of 1,000 fires. "The heart is guarded by the flames themselves," Tobian said, gripping his staff. "We'll have to prove ourselves worthy to claim its power." Nivara nodded, her fiery form blazing with determination. "The flames will test us. We must become one with their song." The first flame wraith surged forward, its body twisting and flaring with heat. It lashed out with tendrils of flame, aiming to engulf them both. Nivara moved swiftly, dancing with the fire, her movements fluid and graceful as she weaved through the flames. With a wave of her hand, she summoned a swirling vortex of fire around herself, guiding the wraith's flames into her own. "The fire does not burn those who understand it," Nivara said, her voice echoing with the power of the flames. The wraith faltered, then dissolved into embers, its flame extinguished. The second flame wraith rose higher into the air, summoning pillars of fire that erupted from the ground around them. Tobian raised his staff, drawing on his magic to deflect the flames, but the wraith's power was relentless. "We need to find the heart of the flame," Tobian called out, dodging another pillar of fire. Nivara raised her arms, her body glowing brighter with fiery energy. "The heart lies in its core," she said, focusing her magic. With a swift motion, she sent a concentrated wave of fire straight toward the wraith, striking its center. The wraith let out a final, echoing cry before dissolving into smoke and ash. The third and final flame wraith was the largest, its form towering over them, crackling with intense heat. It summoned a massive wall of fire, cutting off their path to the heart of echoing flames. "We need to act quickly," Tobian said, readying his magic. Nivara, now fully attuned to the flames, stepped forward confidently. "Leave this one to me." She raised her hand, and the flames around her responded, bending to her will. With a fierce shout, she parted the wall of fire, walking straight through it as if it were merely a gentle breeze. The flame wraith roared, but Nivara stood her ground, channeling the power of the fire within her. "The flame's song is one of balance," Nivara said, her voice calm and steady. "It burns, but it also creates. It consumes, but it also gives life." With a final motion, she extended her hand, and the wraith's flames flickered and dimmed. The wraith let out a final, mournful sound before dissolving into embers, leaving the path clear. Tobian joined her at the edge of the pit, where the glowing crystal hovered above the fire. "You've mastered the fire," he said with admiration. "The heart of echoing flames is yours." Nivara reached out, and as her fingers touched the crystal, the flames around them flared brightly for a moment, then quieted. The heart of echoing flames pulsed with immense power, and Nivara felt the ancient energy of fire flowing through her. With the heart now in their possession, the cavern's flames grew calm, as though the fire itself had accepted them. The echoes of the flames no longer roared, they sang a soft, steady tune, like the gentle crackling of a hearth fire. "We've gained the power of the fire's echo," Tobian said, a smile spreading across his face. "With this, we can face whatever lies ahead." Nivara, her fiery form still radiating warmth and light, nodded. "The flame has shown us its strength, but also its wisdom. We will carry its song with us." As they left the cavern, the echoes of the flames lingered in the air, a reminder of the power they now held. But new adventures awaited beyond the horizon, and with the heart of echoing flames in hand, Tobian and Nivara were ready for whatever came next. The winds of the Azure Peak. After their victory in the cavern of echoing flames, Tobian and Nivara traveled far beyond the volcanic lands, drawn by the winds of destiny toward a towering mountain known as Azure Peak. The mountain was said to touch the very sky, its summit shrouded in perpetual clouds, where the winds themselves whispered ancient secrets. It was a place of air and sky, where the element of wind reigned supreme. As they reached the base of the mountain, the wind howled around them, carrying voices from the peak. Nivara closed her eyes, feeling the air around her grow lighter and cooler. It was time for her transformation once again. She breathed in deeply, and with each breath, her form began to change. Her fiery red hair turned into a soft, sky blue hue, shimmering like the dawn. Her eyes became a vibrant, clear blue, as if reflecting the endless sky above. Her skin paled to a soft, glowing white, and her robes transformed into a light, flowing garment made of gossamer threads, fluttering as if woven from the very wind itself. Nivara had become the spirit of the azure winds, embodying the swift, ever-changing power of the air. "The winds here speak of freedom and power," she said, her voice light and airy, like a breeze. "We must climb to the summit to hear what they have to tell us." Tobian nodded, adjusting his cloak against the chill of the wind. "Then let's see what mysteries the wind hides." Together, they began the ascent, each step bringing them closer to the peak. The path was steep and treacherous, but the wind seemed to guide them, pushing them forward. As they climbed, the air grew thinner, and the world below became distant, as though they were leaving the earth behind entirely. Eventually, they reached a plateau halfway up the mountain. There, nestled between jagged rocks, stood a temple of the winds. Its stone walls were carved with swirling patterns, resembling gusts of wind frozen in time. Massive wind chimes hung from the archways, their haunting melody echoing through the air. But something was wrong. The wind here was chaotic, swirling in unpredictable currents, and a great storm loomed above the temple. Lightning crackled within the clouds, and the sound of thunder echoed down the mountain. The winds are in turmoil, Nivara said, narrowing her eyes. Something has disrupted their balance. They entered the temple cautiously, and inside, they found the source of the disturbance. In the center of the temple stood a massive wind altar, surrounded by 4 glowing crystals, each representing one of the cardinal winds, north, south, east, and west. But the crystals were cracked, their light flickering weakly, and the winds within the temple were swirling uncontrollably. Suddenly, from the shadows, a figure emerged, a wind elemental, its body composed entirely of swirling air currents and storm clouds. Its eyes glowed with a fierce, unnatural light. "You dare enter the domain of the winds?" The elemental hissed, its voice like a gale. "The winds have been wounded, and none may claim their power until balance is restored." Tobian readied his staff, but Nivara stepped forward, her sky-blue hair fluttering in the wind. "We do not seek to claim the wind's power. We seek to restore their harmony." The elemental paused, its eyes narrowing. "The balance has been broken. The winds fight amongst themselves, and the storm grows stronger. Only one who understands the wind can calm the storm." Nivara nodded, her form glowing with the soft light of the sky. "I will bring balance to the winds." With that, the elemental retreated, watching from the shadows as Nivara approached the wind altar. She placed her hands on the cracked crystals, and as she did, the winds around her surged, swirling faster and faster. "The winds are fighting," Tobian said, raising his voice to be heard over the storm. "You need to bring them into harmony." Nivara closed her eyes, centering herself as the winds whipped around her. She could feel the tension between the north wind, cold and fierce, and the warm, gentle south wind. The east wind, swift and eager, clashed with the steady, slow west wind. But they were all part of the same great force, and she knew how to unite them. Slowly, Nivara raised her arms, her voice soft but steady. "Winds of the north, cool your fury. Winds of the south, bring your warmth. East wind, slow your rush, and west wind, embrace the change." The winds responded to her call, slowing and merging into a single, harmonious current. The storm above the temple began to dissipate, and the clouds parted, revealing a clear blue sky. The crystals at the altar glowed brightly once again, their fractures mending as the wind's balance was restored. The wind elemental stepped forward, its form now calm and composed. "You have brought peace to the winds," it said, bowing slightly. "For that, you have earned the right to the wind's greatest secret." From the heart of the altar, a small, glowing feather of the azure winds appeared, floating gently in the air. Nivara reached out, and as she touched it, a surge of power flowed through her. "The feather of the azure winds grants you mastery over the air," the elemental explained. "With it, you can call upon the winds to carry you wherever you wish, and their song will always guide you." Nivara smiled, her eyes shining with the same clear blue light as the sky. "Thank you. We will carry the wind's song with us." As they left the temple, the winds now calm and harmonious, Tobian looked at Nivara with admiration. "You've truly become one with the wind." Nivara smiled softly, her blue hair still fluttering in the breeze. "The wind is freedom, Tobian. And now, we are free to continue our journey." With the feather of the azure winds in hand, they continued their ascent toward the peak, knowing that new adventures awaited them in the lands beyond the mountain. The wind's song followed them, a constant reminder of the power and balance they had restored. The Golden Isles. Having restored harmony to the winds at Azure Peak, Tobian and Nivara found themselves on the edge of a vast ocean. The feather of the azure winds allowed them to descend safely from the mountain, and now it guided them across the sea. The horizon stretched endlessly, but far in the distance, islands shimmered with a golden glow, beckoning them onward. As the wind carried them closer, Nivara sensed the magic of the new land. Her transformation began once more. Her hair turned a brilliant gold, glinting like the sun, while her eyes gleamed with the rich warmth of molten amber. Her skin took on a subtle glow, reminiscent of sunlight on a bright summer's day. Her robes became soft and golden, adorned with intricate patterns of swirling sand and sunbeams. She had become the spirit of the Golden Isles, a reflection of the sun-kissed magic of these ancient islands. "The light here feels different," Nivara remarked as the island shores grew near. "It's alive, ancient, and filled with hidden mysteries." Tobian nodded, his eyes scanning the glistening beaches. "These islands are said to be the resting place of long-lost treasures. But their greatest treasure is the golden light itself." The boat they summoned with the feather of the winds gently touched the shore, and as they stepped onto the sand, a warm, welcoming breeze brushed against their skin. The Golden Isles were a paradise of radiant sunlight, golden beaches, and towering palm trees with shimmering leaves. The air smelled of sweet tropical fruit and distant flowers, and the waters glowed with a soft golden hue, as if reflecting the sky's eternal sunset. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the isles, they discovered a hidden temple of the sun, built entirely from golden stone that shimmered under the bright rays. The temple doors were massive, carved with ancient symbols of the sun and its cycles. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of incense and magic. "This temple guards a powerful relic," Tobian said, running his hand along the sun-carved stone. "The heart of the golden sun. Legend says it controls the light and warmth of the isles, but it's protected by a trial of light." Nivara approached the temple's inner sanctum, her golden hair glinting in the rays of sunlight streaming through cracks in the ceiling. As they entered the inner chamber, they were met with a dazzling sight, a massive sun crystal floating above a pedestal, radiating golden light. But surrounding the crystal were moving beams of light, crisscrossing the chamber like a radiant maze. "The trial of the sun," Tobian murmured. "Only one attuned to the light can pass safely through." Nivara stepped forward confidently, the glow of her transformation brightening in response to the golden light around her. "The sun guides me now." She moved gracefully through the beams, her every step in perfect harmony with the shifting patterns of light. As she passed, the beams seemed to bend and weave around her, recognizing her as one of their own. Tobian watched in awe as she reached the sun crystal without hesitation. Placing her hands on the crystal, Nivara closed her eyes, and the golden light enveloped her entirely. The chamber filled with warmth, and the beams of light stopped moving, becoming still and calm. After a few moments, the light dimmed, and the crystal lowered into her hands. The heart of the golden sun was now in their possession. Tobian smiled as he approached her. "You've become one with the light itself." Nivara smiled, her amber eyes glowing softly. "The power of the sun flows through me now." As they left the temple, the heart of the golden sun pulsed with a soft, steady glow. With it, they could control the light and warmth of the islands, and it would guide them to the next step of their journey. But the isles were not without their challenges. As they ventured further inland, they encountered the ancient guardians of the Golden Isles, sun serpents, creatures made of pure light and heat. They slithered through the air, their bodies glowing with golden fire, protecting the sacred lands. Tobian and Nivara stood side by side as the serpents coiled around them, their golden eyes watching closely. Nivara raised the heart of the golden sun, and the serpents paused, sensing the power she now wielded. Instead of attacking, they bowed their heads in recognition of her authority. "We are not your enemies," Nivara said gently, her voice filled with the warmth of the sun. "We seek to protect these isles, just as you do." The sun serpents hissed softly before retreating into the sky, their glowing forms disappearing into the sunset. With the guardians appeased and the heart of the golden sun in their possession, Tobian and Nivara continued their journey across the islands, knowing that their next adventure would soon reveal itself. The light of the Golden Isles guided them forward, its warmth a constant companion on their path. As they looked toward the horizon, a distant island glimmered in the golden haze, promising new mysteries and challenges yet to be uncovered. The winds whispered of ancient powers buried deep within the heart of the sea, and the adventure was far from over.